Dr. Kai, it is great to have you here in PhillipCapital Specialty Chemical Conference today. As usual, you have already participated in our previous events also, but I think it has become more relevant now because the kind of activities that is talked about and that everybody is reading now about China, Chinese chemical industry and all that. So I think your presence is a real value addition for this event. And so here now, I just wanted to, since now in the recent past, in last few months time, the kind of a price appreciation across the chemical sector that is visible for the products. So that is a kind of a price, is a kind of a buzzword it has become. So what is the real situation of the China, since you are there in the ground there, you live there. So what is the ground reality of the Chinese chemical industry? And what is the kind of a policy updates that you are currently seeing for the Chinese industry? Over to you.
Well, thanks for having me here. I think overall this is pretty serious what the Chinese government is doing. They are serious about environmental regulation and they are serious about improving the industry structure by closing down a lot of the small chemical companies. This is part of the whole environmental initiative of Xi Jinping, and it is what is kind of new compared to previous regulation is now there's a strong focus on implementation.
Okay.
And that leads to some of these price hikes that you observe, that suddenly there is in a province there are inspections and maybe out of 10 companies inspected, 3 or 4 get told to temporarily shut down production.
Okay. So the kind of inspection what now we are hearing about or studying from the various articles, that okay, it is a country-wide and a continuous process, or it is a kind of at the intervals they would be doing the inspections of the various chemical plants and according action on those, or it is a continuous phenomenon now it will become?
At the moment they are in the second round of inspections. It's something that they keep doing. They focus each month on specific provinces, but they go through all of them, and it's a huge manpower amount. They talk about 20,000 people doing the inspections, about 200 teams.
Okay. Last time what I understand, they have covered almost like 40,000 odd companies during later part of calendar 17. Mm-hmm. Now even the current inspection what you are talking about, that would also be of that similar magnitude?
That is of the same magnitude, yes, exactly.
Okay. So that means possibly last time the understanding was that around 50% of the companies, more than 50% of the companies were not compliant. So situation is similar, or?
Situation is similar. It's a little bit improved, but basically similar.
Okay. And now given the kind of official planned kind of rationalization of the industry chemical, so what is the real transformation of the chemical industry that you are witnessing for the China? Well, because we have already seen that okay, how China became the global powerhouse so far as chemicals is concerned. So at this juncture, what transformation that you are seeing?
Well, China is determined not to fall into the middle income trap, and that is reflected in the 5-year plan for the chemical industry, where they say in commodity chemicals we don't really want a lot of volume growth, we want improvement in quality, and we want to have focus on specific innovative areas in the chemical industry, such as electronic chemicals, new materials, etc.
Okay. So we are discussing that the cost structure also has witnessed a significant up move there. That is one. And also perhaps earlier also, though China became the global powerhouse so far chemical is concerned, and now is around 40% of the global market, but the dependency on the export is always used to be limited. Now with the transformation, possibly it seems that okay, the export that has come down meaningfully, and they have possibly become the net importer kind of chemicals. whether these are the kind of a transformation that you really observe that?
Not quite to that extent. I mean, overall, the long-term story is more China changes from an importer of chemicals to an exporter. Now, I think we are witnessing more of a short-term reversal of that due to production stops. But I still see, and of course, I live in China. I make my living in China.
Exactly.
I still am relatively optimistic about the longer-term future for the Chinese chemical industry.
Okay, and regards the as per our earlier discussion also, I believe that it is Chinese chemical industry is almost one third kind of a distribution amongst the SOEs and private players and the MNCs. So, do you see that the trend of de-risking procurement by MNC that is quite apparent nowadays, and are they thinking of some other sourcing zone than China, given the developments that is there in China right now?
I do see a lot of companies thinking about that, both US and European companies. So far, I have seen not really big changes in what they actually do. So I think what they will do is they want to have a plan B, which could involve an Indian company. If you give them a bit more time, what this will mean, they will give this Indian supplier a certain lower share of their procurement volume, let's say 15%, just to keep in contact with him, but they will, for the time being, as long as China works, they will try to source the majority of their material in China.
Yeah, correct. Why? Because India, obviously, being whatever the size that they are currently having in the global share, so India's share in the global trade is just 3%, whereas China is 40%. So even if 10 to 15% of the China's trade
that could already be quite beneficial for India.
Yeah, it is like more than doubling kind of opportunity for India.
Yeah.
So you really see that that could be a kind
yes.
of yeah. Okay.
Though of course India there has to compete with other potential sources. It's not automatically India.
Obviously,
that will
yes,
be the
yes. So that is fine. And about overall, what is the outlook for the global chemical industry that you are witnessing? Whether there are any disruptive trends that you are witnessing, or you are seeing this as secular as it used to be, or you are seeing something like that, Asia dominating the other part of the world, or what is your outlook for the overall chemical industry?
Well, except for, and I always have to say that these days, except for Mr. Trump, the outlook would be relatively positive. With Mr. Trump, things are not so easy because the trade war could really distract chemical trade flows. There are other longer-term trends, like possibly a shift away even from the Western countries altogether, so that it's just, let's say, I produce my basic chemicals in Saudi Arabia and then just make the products in India or China. So that would be another interesting trend. But overall, I'm quite positive.
And have you started seeing any implication of this trade war thing?
So far, more on the level of what-if scenarios. I think the current 10% are not the problem. If it's 25%, then a lot of Chinese chemical companies will have problems exporting to the US. Now, for them, the US is not a huge share of their total market, but it will have material implementations, and they will try to find alternatives, either trying to sell more locally or to export to other countries.
Okay. How sustainable is the price trend that is visible in China? So it is like currently, as per our understanding, the Chinese prices of any chemical is much higher compared to the international prices. Mm-hmm. So is that the kind of a trend which is likely to prevail in the near future, or?
I think there will be a slight relaxation of the pricing. On the other hand, it will not revert back to the old lower level, because the industry structure, and that's, as I mentioned, is one of the government goals, has improved to the point that there are fewer players and they are more disciplined with regard to prices, and they also have higher costs in terms of environmental regulation.
Okay. Just on the last point that I would like to have your view. See, do you really see any benefit? See, apart from the opportunity in terms of the volume and all that is fine, but do you really find any specific segment which is likely to be beneficial for Indian industry? Or what strength you find for Indian industry to tap that opportunity which is visible for them?
Well, I've been in China for 15 years now, and I still feel China is relatively weak in specialty chemicals.
Okay.
Somehow it is not well aligned with both their volumes thinking and also their more development-oriented R&D style. So I think India has the potential to be better both in R&D and in producing a variety of small volume products, maybe even customized, maybe in close interaction with the customer, and beat China in these areas.
Okay, so that means, is the last line be that China's policy of focusing more on the scale and all that is complementing to the kind of India style of business doing, that is focusing more on the customization and small volume and value addition?
I think you could say that, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kai. So it was great having you in our conference today, and thank you.
Thank you.